Neil Young and Crazy Horse's Down by the River is the blueprint for what made their unique approach brilliant. It's an extensive guitar-led freight train of sound blended with disturbing subject matter that evokes an oppressive atmosphere of dread. The song was recorded in Hollywood in early 1969 and would be released on Young's second studio album, and his first with the recently renamed band Crazy Horse. Everybody knows this is Nowhere. Lyrically, Down by the River is a confrontational, confessional tale of violence. It starts off with a cloying plea to the character's lover. The opening verse is tense and sexually suggestive, implying this character is lonely and just wants to get his rocks off.
Be on my side, I'll be on your side, baby. There is no reason for you to hide. It's so hard for me staying here all alone when you could be taking me for a ride.
The line, "taking me for a ride," is a double entendre, a sexual reference, and perhaps an implication of cheating or dishonesty, hinting something more sinister is happening. "There's no reason for you to hide" sounds so off-putting in this context as well. Young's character comes off threatening, as if trying to lure this woman into his web. The song that erupts with Young and company shouting out the confessional chorus line.
Down by the river, I shot my baby. Down by the river, dead. Ooh, shot her dead.
The song reads like some sort of confession or admission of guilt, although Young has been somewhat divergent about the actual meaning. In a 1970 interview, only a year after the song's release, he said, "There's no real murder in it. It's about blowing your thing with a chick. It's a plea, a desperate cry." Nevertheless, almost 15 years later, in 1984, Neil Young expands on the song's confessional nature in concert. He introduced the song as one about a guy who had a lot of trouble controlling himself. In a dramatic telling of the story, the protagonist's partner cheats on him one too many times, and he ends up shooting and killing her with a revolver. He's later confronted by the police and put in prison for his crime. While he sits in a jail cell, he reflects on what he's done. This is more or less the setup and state of mind for the song. Down by the River doesn't outright condemn its protagonist either. He shows no explicit remorse through the lyrics. Young chooses to not offer explicit regret, but to evoke the feeling of regret through an extended fixation on this single moment of time the character is reliving. It's mostly through Young's vocals and the song's oppressive atmosphere that gives it the feeling of remorse. There really aren't many lyrics for a 9-minute song, and there don't need to be. Neil Young generally doesn't concern himself with direct storytelling. He tends to lean towards abstraction and feeling more than outright structure or messaging. In a 1967 interview, Young was asked about the story behind his Buffalo Springfield song, "Nowadays Clancy Can't Even Sing." He explained he was less interested in a listener hearing a story per se, but to evoke a feeling. "You can read a story in Time magazine. I want them to get a feeling like when you see something bad go down, when you see a mother hit a kid for doing nothing, or a frustration you see, a girl at an airport watching her husband leave to go to war." Down by the River is one of the best examples of Young's restrained, more atmospheric, and less deliberate lyric writing. He gives us an outline to work with and less of an actual story to latch onto. This way we can feel what he wants us to, and interject ourselves into the song without the disconnect or decisive restrictions of narrative. While the lyrics give the song its emotional basis, the music is where Young and Crazy Horse really step it up. Down by the River was a radical departure from everything Neil Young had done in his solo career and with Buffalo Springfield. The introduction of Crazy Horse into his sound turned it into something wholly new and daring. Young considered Danny Whitten, the group's guitarist, the secret element of Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere, as well as the creative spark behind early Crazy Horse's sound. The interplay between them turned Down by the River into a menacing and adventurous garage rock epic, something that would end up influencing a number of sonically ambitious bands from Fish to Car Seat Headrest. Witten's unique style gave Young the room he needed to explore and expand his own guitar technique into weirder, more angular and abrasive directions. And Young's guitar on this cut is truly abrasive and one of a kind. It's sharp, jagged, and constantly keeps you on your toes. He leaves any semblance of traditional virtuosity behind in favor of a rougher, more aggressive and animalistic sound. Crazy Horse, who's known for their amateur musical ability and rough-around-the-edges style, supports the song with a layer of narcotic funk. The bass and drums supplement the dancing guitar work by staying more or less consistent throughout the runtime. Billy Talbot's simple and upfront bass line chugs along, giving the song a bluesy vibe that feels equal parts groovy and drunk. Ralph Molina's drumming is loose but still sturdy, and drives the song continually from one inflection to the next. The backup ooh-la-las almost sound sarcastic, too. Live performances have ranged from shorter, quicker solo acoustic renditions to expansive and innovative jams, extending the instrumental parts to new heights, ranging anywhere from 20 minutes to a 2016 version that went on for 36 minutes. Young himself described Crazy Horse songs as ones that were written to be explored forever. He also points out the slow transition of the Horse's sound from a somewhat understated country funk outfit into a full-on chunky eruption of noise, saying that after the death of Danny Whitten and the joining of Frank Pancho Sampedro, Crazy Horse took on a louder, more wampum arena rock sound. It's worth noting the juxtaposition of Crazy Horse performances of the song with Young's other 70s era group, the star-studded Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. Performances between the Horse and CSNY are stark in their approaches. Crazy Horse is, of course, notorious for being little more than a ragtag group of rock and roll misfits, and are the antithesis of everything CSNY was. Horse renditions of Down by the River are messy, loud, and exhaustive. CSNY versions, in contrast, are often cleaner, tighter, and just altogether less horrible. When accompanied by the more polished sound, Young's arrhythmic, acid-tinged guitar freakouts sound a bit out of place. While still good in their own right, CSNY renditions lack some of the grungy bite that Crazy Horse made their own. Much like the rest of Young's discography, Down by the River is directly reminiscent of American folk and country music, particularly the aptly titled subgenre of murder ballads.
Took her by her little hand.
Murder ballads are simply a subgenre of traditional ballads, usually country or folk songs, that tell the story of a murder or some sort of instance of violence. It's a fairly prolific subgenre, and many murder ballads have been covered by a variety of artists like Johnny Cash, Olivia Newton-John, and Nick Cave. The traditional murder ballad, Banks of the Ohio, is even a story about a man, or woman depending on the rendition, who kills their lover near the riverside. The protagonist of this song shows much more clear regret, exclaiming, "My God, what have I done?"
He cried, "My love, don't you murder me. I'm not prepared for eternity."
I can't say for sure whether Young was influenced directly by a murder ballad in particular when writing Down by the River, but the song certainly evokes the legacy of them. He continues the tried and true form of these songs depicting gruesome scenes from the darker side of life. He elevates the formula to new heights with innovations in vocal expression, guitar technique, and narrative deflection. By subverting traditional narrative storytelling, he's able to evoke a unique feel in Down by the River that's truly all his and Crazy Horse's own. The song is also reminiscent of another 60s murder ballad classic, Hey Joe, made famous by Jimi Hendrix. Hey Joe is told from the perspective of one of Joe's acquaintances, though. The direct first-person perspective of Down by the River and Banks of the Ohio makes these songs considerably more desperate and pitiful. Down by the River is also a core root for the grunge movement. Neil Young, who is often referred to as the godfather of grunge, was of course a direct influence on Kurt Cobain, And it's easy to see how his songwriting and guitar work was a clear line to the grunge and alternative rockers after him. His unique approach to depressive topics like infidelity and murder resemble songs like Jeremy by Pearl Jam, who would go on to record an album with him in the mid-90s.
Keep on rocking in the free world.
Down by the River is easily one of Neil Young's definitive masterpieces. It's a raw, grungy, disturbing murder ballad, elevated by Young's unique atmospheric vocals and Crazy Horse's original renegade approach that still transfixes and intrigues 50 years on.
Yeah.